is getting to be time to be introduced to our speaker for the Mrs. Malati Venkatesan Tanka Foundation Memorial Lecture. To do the honors of introducing our speaker, it gives me great pleasure to call upon Dr. Suresh, Advisory Member, Tanka Foundation, to do the honors.
Good evening, everybody. Adversities due to chronic disease can have a profound negative impact on individuals. Most of us endure the disease and the treatment to pursue our passion. It's a rare few among us who actually take the fight to a bigger stage and a larger canvas, to fight the cause and also make it better for those afflicted with the same disease. Just like Malati Venkatesan, in whose memory this lecture has been started, Dr. Kamal Shah is one such individual. A chemical engineer by profession, back in 1997, he was afflicted by an unusual medical condition, what we nephrologists will call as atypical hemolytic uremic syndrome. I'm sure it's a little bit of a tongue twister for all of you. But the end result was he lost his kidney function and then he had to go on dialysis. Subsequently, he underwent a transplant, which can be unsuccessful in such situations. And so he had to be back on dialysis very soon. And then he moved on to one other modality of dialysis, which we call as peritoneal dialysis, for about 6 years. That was between 1999 to 2005. And subsequently, because of some medical complications, he's again been on hemodialysis since 2006. So when you are to fight a disease like this, it is time-consuming enough to deal with it. But Kamal decided to take it to the bigger stage of actually making that the purpose of his professional life. He moved from IT to being a management person in one of India's foremost private dialysis care provider called NephroPlus. He's a co-founder and director of patient services for NephroPlus dialysis centers, which operates about 64 centers around in the country. He also runs a blog, is kamalshah.com, where he shares his experiences about dialysis with other patients. He's published internationally on the challenges for patients, and also is part of the global home hemodialysis forum consisting of experts around the world on dialysis. So he also maintains a website titled dialysisorg.in. So as you can see, his reach out is sort of with the times, in the sense that he leverages IT to impact other people with kidney disease the most. With no further ado, can I invite Kamal Shah to deliver the Malati Venkatesan Tanka Foundation Memorial Lecture titled Living a Normal Life Despite Being on Dialysis. Kamal?
As Dr. Kamal Shah comes up on stage, may I request Mrs. Rajalakshmi Ravi, Trustee Tanka Foundation, to please felicitate our speaker.
Thanks so much, Dr. Suresh, for that introduction. I'd like to thank the Tanka Foundation for inviting me to be a part of this program and for allowing me to deliver this lecture. It's a great privilege for me to be a part of this occasion. I've been hearing about the great work that Tanka Foundation has been doing for many, many years. I've also had the privilege of meeting Dr. Georgie many years back, and I'll talk about that meeting in a bit. So thanks once again to the Tanka Foundation. Next slide. So about Mrs. Malati Venkatesan, it's even a bigger honor for me to be a speaker for a lecture in the memory of such a great person. I've had the privilege of meeting Mrs. Venkatesan back in 1999, 2000, in that time frame, when she had come down to Hyderabad. Hyderabad is where I stay. When she had come down to Hyderabad for the transplant games, and she was introduced to me by a common friend. And my first view of her was such a down-to-earth person. I mean, she's been doing such enormous work. She's been such an amazing inspiration for patients all around. Being on dialysis, getting a transplant, She had been doing so much good work, and she was such a down-to-earth person. I felt it was a great privilege for me to even meet her. She never let her disease come in the way of serving humanity. That is one thing that we all need to take away from the life of Mrs. Malti Venkatesan. Next slide. So the topic I'm going to talk about is leading a normal life despite being on dialysis. I've been on dialysis for the last 18 and a half years, and I lead a pretty normal life. I work full-time. I swim every morning. I travel. I lead a pretty much normal life. I go out for a movie. I go to restaurants. I hang out with my friends. It's a pretty normal life. If somebody saw me and did not know I was on dialysis, I don't think he would guess that I've been on dialysis for 18 and a half years. There are some pretty bad misconceptions about life on dialysis, especially in India. People feel that once you're diagnosed with kidney disease, ESRD, and you're put on dialysis, a lot of people feel that it's almost the end of life. It's like a ticking time bomb. People feel that you have, a few months to a few years to live. People feel that once somebody gets onto dialysis, it's going to be a bedridden life. You will be feeling weak and tired all the time. These are the misconceptions a large population in society today, patients included, have about dialysis. But this is not true. Next. People on dialysis, I firmly believe, can lead normal lives. They can work, they can exercise, they can travel, they can lead long and productive lives. It is only up to the patient himself on whether he wants to do this or not. I just want to give a few examples of people I've known personally. So the first person is Bill Peckham. And if you see that photograph there, he's actually getting dialysis on a raft. So this is an extreme example to most of us, but this guy, he has dialyzed in 43 countries till today. He's currently getting dialysis in the US, and he has this portable dialysis machine, which he takes with him everywhere. And this picture is, he's getting dialysis in the Grand Canyon. There's a river in the Grand Canyon. He's taken a raft and he's gone dialysis in that raft. So then the second guy is Greg Collett, who writes a blog called Big D and Me. He's also traveled a lot. He leads a pretty normal life. And if you see that poster he's carrying, it says 0% kidneys, 100% alive. That in one line to me is the essence. 0% kidneys, 100% alive. People on dialysis can lead normal lives. And the third is from our very own country, Samir Haladi, who is a dialysis patient from Mumbai. He's getting dialysis for about 16 years now. He goes on treks in the Sahyadri Hills around Mumbai. He goes on treks. Treks is actually climbing small hills, steep hills, going across streams, getting wet in gushing waterfalls. I mean, this is what dialysis patients can do. And we all have to believe that this is possible. And I just wanted to show you 3 random examples of people I've known personally to show that this is possible. So the question is, how is this possible? Like, a lot of patients I know do not believe this is possible. A lot of patients I know do not lead normal lives. A large number of patients I know, they are bedridden. Their life pretty much is from bed to dialysis center, back to bed, maybe a few hours in front of the television, eating food that they hate, going back to the dialysis center. This becomes like a routine life, which is, there's nothing to look forward to. And this has to change. So first, I just want to digress a little to tell you a little bit more about me. So I was 21 years old. I had just completed my BTech in chemical engineering from Osmania University in Hyderabad. I got admission for my master's in chemical engineering in the US. Like most others my age, I had American dreams. I got my US visa from this very city in 1997, and then I went back to Hyderabad. At that point, just a few days before I was scheduled to leave for the US, I had already booked my flight tickets. There was this thing about getting vaccinations done before you travel to the US. So I took these vaccinations, MMR, typhoid, and hepatitis B. And then that very evening, I developed some symptoms, nausea, vomiting, and things like that. So I was told at the time of getting the vaccines that you could have some side effects. So I just put it down to maybe these are the side effects of the vaccine. But then for 2-3 days, these side effects continued. And then I went to a family doctor. He advised us to get some tests done. We got those tests done, and then we suddenly realized that the tests revealed kidney failure. Creatinine was 7.2, the normal is 0.5 to 1.2. So then a biopsy was done, and it confirmed the doctor's suspicion that based on the earlier symptoms that it was atypical HUS, hemolytic uremic syndrome. I was immediately put on hemodialysis. Next slide. So the American dreams were shattered. I was restricted to dialysis, admissions in and out of hospital for the next almost 1.5 years, trying to see what can be done. For about 17 months, I was on hemodialysis. In the meantime, tried a host of alternate therapies, Ayurveda, homeopathy, acupuncture, acupressure, nature cure, even a mantra. Somebody said that you go to Bombay and there's this guy who gives you a mantra and it's curing a lot of people with kidney disease. I went there 1.5 months, tried all the mantras, but creatinine didn't go down, unfortunately. Then finally, I underwent a kidney transplant in 1998, November. My mother, who's sitting right there, she donated a kidney to me. But as it is in HUS, recurrence of the disease is very common. It's supposed to be 90-95% chances of recurrence. So after 11 days, recurrence of HUS happened and we lost the kidney transplant. I was soon back on hemodialysis. Next slide. At that point, the internet was new at that point, so I started researching a lot about dialysis, what are the options for kidney failure. And then I stumbled upon this term called peritoneal dialysis. I was very intrigued by that word because people who were undergoing that therapy said that you don't have to go to the hospital, there's no needles, less diet and fluid restrictions. So it seemed very appealing to me because these were all the things I hated about hemodialysis. So I talked to my nephrologist and he supported the idea. And then I got a peritoneal dialysis catheter inserted in March 1999 and finally started peritoneal dialysis. Next slide. So on peritoneal dialysis, I found that life was much more normal than it was on hemo. Soon settled down into a normal routine, took a part-time job in a software company, which happened to be a family friend's. I would go about half a day, every day. I started learning the basics of software development. Then in September 2000, I co-founded a software company called Efficient with some friends, and then began working full-time. Within a span of about a couple of years, we had 3 offices, one in California, and one in Hyderabad, and one in Bangalore. We had 200 employees. Next slide. And then Chennai, back in December 2004, I came with some friends for a holiday to go to Mahabalipuram. We checked into a cottage right on the beach in Mahabalipuram. And then the next morning, this was December 25th, 2004. I'm sure that date rings a bell. Next morning, completed peritoneal dialysis exchange and was having breakfast in our cottage while watching TV. Next slide. And suddenly, there was water gushing in from beneath the door. And we were wondering what's happening. Within a minute, we were all neck deep in water. When I looked around me, the television, the refrigerator, the beds were all bobbing up and down in water. We were totally shocked. We were wondering what is happening. We had no clue. We somehow managed to get out of the cottage because the pressure of the water was so much that it was shutting the door on us, wasn't letting us go out. But somehow we managed to get out, saved our lives, lost all our belongings in the bargain, but luckily we saved our lives. Next slide. And that was the December 2004 tsunami. I'm sure many of you have lived through that. This of course, is a picture from Marina Beach here, but that tsunami, we were right on the beach and had a miraculous escape. Next slide. Unfortunately, what happened was, though we managed to save our lives, I had a series of peritoneal dialysis catheter, exit site, tunnel, and membrane and infections one after the other. My doctor tried massive antibiotics for each of those infections. The infection would subside, then within a few weeks it would be back again, Pseudomonas aeruginosa. That was the bacteria. We tried to save the catheter a lot, but unfortunately we could not. Then my doctor decided to remove the catheter, give it some rest, the membrane for some time, and then put in a new catheter. We did that, but unfortunately the clearance, the ultrafiltration wasn't good enough. So at that point, we had to give up peritoneal dialysis. Next slide. So I was very shattered because I was very happy with PD. It had given me semblance of normalcy. I was working. I was leading a normal life. And after those 1.5 years of drudgery in the beginning, so I was I was totally shattered because I thought, what's going to happen now? Because I'm no longer going to be able to do PD. I talked to my doctor, Dr. Girish Narayan in Hyderabad, and he suggested, why don't you do home hemodialysis? I was a little taken aback. Home hemodialysis? How could anybody do hemodialysis at home? I mean, what if something happened? What if there was a blood leak? I mean, I had seen all these incidents happening around me in the dialysis center. So I was very hesitant. But then again, I researched a lot about this on the internet. And there was one particular forum on the internet called Home Dialysis Central, where there were a lot of people from around the world who were doing home hemo, and they were posting their experiences. And there was one French guy who posted one day, working my way through the second bottle of Coke. And that was what hit it. And I said, I have to do this. Because after years of fluid restrictions and coming back to fluid restrictions, I said, this has to be good. So then I researched a lot about it again, visited some people who were doing home hemo in Mumbai, and then started it on May 13th, 2006. Started with a couple of hours every day, moved to 3, and then currently I do 7 hours, 6 nights a week. I self-cannulate, put in my own needles, use buttonhole needles. So that's a picture of me with my dialysis machine at home. Next slide. Around this time, I started writing my blog, which is called kamaldisha.com. Became fairly popular quickly among dialysis patients. A lot of dialysis patients would write in to me, send me emails with specific problems they were having. Without, of course, giving them a medical opinion, I would give them my patient's perspective on their problems and tell them, of course, please talk to your doctor about this, but this is what I feel you could do. Currently, the blog has about 8 lakh views, 1,100 posts, and about 100 visitors per day. Next slide. We sold our software company in about 2008 and started working for another software company called Green, doing Mac and iPhone apps. It was a regular software job. I was always itching to do something related to dialysis because I was very close to the dialysis field because I had experienced a lot of things in this area, and I was itching to do something in dialysis. But there was always this thought at the back of my mind, what could I do alone, I mean, despite leading a fairly normal life, you have certain constraints. To start a business, to do something, to start a venture completely on your own, I was very hesitant. And then one day on 28th August 2009, I got an email in my inbox from someone called Vikram Vuppala. That changed my life. Next slide. And that's the email. I have pulled out some extracts from the email. The subject was request for a brief meeting. Hi Kamal, I chanced upon your blog and really loved reading it. In fact, I spent hours reading it. I would love to meet you in person to talk about dialysis and CKD in general. So, if you can spare 15 to 30 minutes of your time at any location you prefer, I will stop by. Thanks and looking forward to hearing from you, Vikram Vuppala. So I met Vikram the next day, and then Vikram had met Sandeep Gudibanda, who was doing his MBA at ISB, and both of them happened to meet at a workshop in ISB. And then the three of us met. Next slide. And that was the birth of NephroPlus. So 3 of us started NephroPlus in December 2009. We wanted it to be a chain of dialysis centers that would offer quality dialysis to patients in India at affordable prices. We wanted it to address all the problems. We brainstormed. So I had a lot of experience in dialysis in India, and I knew a lot of problems that existed. So 3 of us brainstormed on those problems and found solutions to each of those problems. We launched our first center on March 14th, 2010 in Hyderabad. Those are a couple of pictures from the launch. Next slide. So currently, we are India's largest dialysis provider network with 64 centers in 45 cities, in 14 states and 1 country. We hope to change that 1 country to more very soon. Next slide. So I wanted the overarching theme of NephroPlus to be enable patients on dialysis to lead normal lives. That was in one line summarizing the objective why we started NephroPlus. Because we believed that patients on dialysis are not leading normal lives in India, a lot of them, and we wanted them to lead normal lives. So one major change we made is we stopped calling our patients patients. We call them guests, because we believe that patient has a slightly negative connotation. The patient means somebody who's sick, but somebody on dialysis doesn't have to be sick. If you look at me, very few people can say that I'm sick. So we removed the word patient and we called our patients guests. And the entire focus was on bringing cheer back to their lives, enabling them to lead normal lives. Next slide. So we celebrate all our guests' birthdays. You know, dialysis patients, as we all know, they many times get into things like depression and they feel that they're a burden. So we want to bring cheer into their lives. So we celebrate each of our guests' birthdays. Next slide. We organize patient events called Ashai and the Indian Dialysis Olympiad. So these pictures are actually from a dialysis Olympiad that we conducted about a year back in Hyderabad. We invited patients from all over the country and had an Olympic-style event for them. So here, we took that enabling patients to lead normal life to a completely new level. Here, if you see those pictures there, these are all people on dialysis, every single one of them. They are taking part in a cycling race. Here, they are about to start a running race. And those are the medals distribution ceremony. There are caroms and the old lady playing caroms there, chess. So these are things that we genuinely believe can be done. It's just that making people believe that these can be done. The self-confidence, the belief that I can lead a normal life is what is central to us. Next slide. So coming back to the original theme of my talk, tips to lead a normal life, I just wanted to close with a few tips here. Condition the mind to be cheerful. Get as much dialysis as you can practically can. Work, exercise, and travel. Next slide. Kidney disease, as all of you know, affects the entire body, right from the heart to the liver, to the veins, to the skin, all parts of the body. Next slide. But I believe that the most important part it affects is the mind. A lot of dialysis patients get into depression. They start having suicidal thoughts. They feel they are a burden on the family because, as we all know, dialysis is a very, very expensive treatment. Families' entire savings, life savings can get wiped out in a matter of months. So patients start to believe that they are a burden on their families. All their dreams get shattered. People's children upbringing, people getting their kids married, their own education, their own life, everything gets shattered. So one thing that dialysis patients definitely need to do is to get rid of these negative thoughts. They need to develop a positive outlook and they need to fight the disease because the disease has this dirty habit of getting back to you every once in a way. You're done with your heart problem, suddenly the liver problem crops up. You're done with the liver problem, the nerves start acting up. So this thing has this bad habit of picking up a fight with you every now and then. It's up to you to give the fight back. It's up to you to take up cudgels and fight the disease in as strong a manner as you can. Getting optimal dialysis is something which is a little bit difficult in India because of affordability. In a lot of countries in the West, government insurance and private insurance takes care of most of the expenses, but in India, a large percentage of the population has to pay for their medical expenses out of pocket, which kind of makes it difficult to get optimal dialysis. The minimum dialysis worldwide is thrice a week, but a lot of patients in India get only twice a week. So, given the constraints that each patient has, we should all aim to get as much dialysis as possible. That, I think, is a very, very important point. I get dialysis 6 nights a week, 7 hours. That's 42 hours of dialysis every week. A lot of patients get only 8 or 12 max. Dialysis patients should at least try to work part-time. If it's a constraint, if you're not energetic enough to work full-time, start at least part-time. It gives a sense of purpose. Any individual, any human being needs to have some purpose in life. If they have something to look forward to, their sense of self-worth increases. So it is very important, I believe, that every dialysis patient should work. May not be for money. If it's a housewife, if maybe they're not used to working outside, do work at home. But it's very important to have some responsibility, something to do, something to keep busy with. Exercise. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? All of us know that exercise is good for everybody. There's no reason dialysis patients shouldn't exercise. Of course, they should get a word from their doctor about any possible harmful effects. But by and large, for the most part, I think doctors also will not discourage dialysis patients from exercising. It gives you an opportunity to get out of the house. There's an obvious physical benefit, but more importantly, it keeps the mind fresh. And there is a feeling of normalcy that sets in. So exercise is another very important aspect. travel. I mean, I really love to travel. It gives you a change from the normal routine that you're used to. You see new places, meet new people. Nowadays, travel need not be expensive as well. There are a lot of reasonably priced options. It gives you a chance to reboot the mind, as I say. To summarize, dialysis patients should do everything a normal person does. If you look at that box on the right, for many people, dialysis becomes their entire life. It becomes this all-pervading thing in their life. All the time, our life revolves around dialysis. What time is my next session? What time do I need to do this? What time do I need to do that? My fluid restrictions, my diet restrictions. We need to get away from that. We need to make dialysis a small part of our life, like the other parts. For example, work, family, friends, hobbies, entertainment, whatever it is. But dialysis should just remain one part of our life. As Abraham Lincoln, the former president of the United States, had once said, in the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. It's not important whether we live 10 years, 20 years, 1 year, 2 years, or 60 years, or 100 years. What is important is the amount of time we've lived, what have we done with our life? Have we made a difference? Have we enjoyed life fully? I think that is the bottom line. Thank you.